Darkness spread across the eastern quadrant of the starfield, a cold silence stretching over dead space. The planet Telvor 9 sat in orbit around a dying red sun, its surface torn and blackened by past wars. Once it had been a stronghold of the Varnic Empire. Now it was just another silent graveyard, left behind after a failed experiment and outpost too far from safety, too close to the unknown. On board the command ship Threxel, orbiting the ruins of Telvor 9, Commander Vral tapped his clawed fingers against the console. The silence bothered him. No signs of movement, no energy surges, no distress signals. And yet, 3 days ago, one of their patrol ships vanished here. No debris, no beacon, nothing. He leaned forward, his voice cold. Begin scan. Deep burst. I want to know if even a grain of dust moved down there. The ship's scanners reached out across the void. For 2 long minutes, nothing came back. Then, static. And something else. A low hum. The crew froze. The hum was not natural. It pulsed like a heartbeat, slow, heavy, deliberate. The waveform was unlike anything they had seen. Not coded communication. Not ancient tech, not even a trap dot. It was a presence. Pull. Back, Vral said, standing slowly. I don't like this. But before the engines could fire, the hum spiked. Screens filled the bridge. All lights died at once. The air shifted. A deep, impossible sound filled every corner of the ship. Vral tried to shout an order, but his voice vanished. His own console dissolved into static. Then something appeared in the main screen, just for a second. A ship.no. A shadow. Black, silent, smooth. Not shaped like anything Vral had ever seen. No engines. No insignia. No lights. The darkness returned. 10 minutes later, the Threxel was gone. Back at Varnock Command, far across the stars, a message arrived. It was a distress signal from the Threxel, but the audio was distorted. A single sentence kept repeating. It's not a ship, it's watching. The High Council gathered within hours. They were the rulers of the Varnock Empire, creatures with minds like machines, old as the stars. They had seen wars. They had burned worlds. They had erased species from history. But this disturbed them. This may be a Terran weapon, Counselor Gore hissed. Something from the Forbidden's War. Impossible, another replied. The humans agreed to peace. They buried their warships. Then who sent this? No one answered. 3 more scout ships were sent to TELVORR-9. None returned. Finally, the Empire sent its 5th Fleet 60 warships, led by a dreadnought with planet-killer capabilities. It was not a rescue mission. It was extermination. The order was clear. Destroy whatever is hiding in that sector. No survivors. No evidence. The fleet arrived within hours. The system looked. Empty.2 empty. No asteroid drift. No radiation scatter. No engine trails. Just dead space. Then something appeared on long-range radar. 1 blip. 1 ship. Identify. Admiral Corot barked. The computer tried. Failed. Tried again. Nothing matched. The design was smooth and organic black hull. No heat. Signatures, no transponder. It didn't look alive. It didn't look dead. It looked wrong. Prepare to fire, Corot ordered. The fleet locked weapons. Missiles, plasma bolts, neutron disruptors. Targeted on the silent object. Then it moved. Not fast, not aggressive. Just slightly. Shifted. But as it moved, stars behind it dimmed. And then everyone saw it. It wasn't just a ship. It was massive. Larger than a moon. Hidden behind cloaking layers and space-warping shields. What they saw was only the tip, like the blade of a knife, slowly being pulled from the void. Suddenly, a signal came through. not from the ship, from the void around. It dot no language, no sound, just a feeling dot cold, crushing, endless dot Admiral Corot couldn't breathe. His chest tightened. One of the crew screamed and tore at his own face. Another began whispering in an unknown tongue. Systems failed. Weapons went offline. Gravity flickered. Shields collapsed dot, and then it fired. There was no light. No explosion dot, just ERASUR dot 1 second. A cruiser floated calmly. The next second, it was gone, erased from space, as if it had never existed. Not even debris remained. Not a spark. Panic spread through the fleet. Ships began to retreat. Orders were lost. Communications jammed. The black ship remained still, but every time it moved, another ship vanished. Within 8 minutes, 40 vessels were destroyed. The rest turned and fled. Admiral Corot never made it back. His last words were recorded, half broken. By static. This thing, it's not human, but it remembers us. It remembers Earth. At Faunok command, silence filled the chamber. For the first time in centuries, fear entered their hearts. They had ruled for 1,000 years, conquered dozens of species. But this was something else. A weapon? A ghost? A forgotten god? Number. One knew. Only one thing was clear, that it had come from Earth. Or what was once called Earth, a world the galaxy had forgotten, or tried to forget. And now, it was awake. Across the galaxy, listening posts started picking up strange signals. Whispers. In static, deep pulses hidden in star patterns. All the same frequency. All leading back to one source. The black ship. No one knew its name. No. One knew its purpose. But those who had seen it called it one thing. The Revenant. The Empire declared a state of emergency. Reinforcements were gathered. Alliances were formed. Secret weapons unburied. But deep in space, the Revenant moved without sound, without reason, without mercy. And somewhere, far beyond known space, on a cold, forgotten moon, a Terran archive flickered to life. A voice, lost for centuries, whispered, "In the dark. Protocol. Judgment has begun." The Varnak Council sat in total silence, their chambers surrounded by dark stone and glowing data crystals. Fear hung heavy in the air like toxic gas. None of them wanted to speak first. What could they even say? 3 fleets were gone, more than 200 ships. No survivors. No comes, only static and screams. Only one word had repeated in the final. Moments of each transmission. Earth. That word hadn't been spoken in official Varnak history for over 3 centuries. It was forbidden. Counselor Threxen finally broke the silence. His voice was dry and distant. "Begin archive retrieval. Open the black vault." Gasps echoed in the chamber. A few hissed in protest. "That vault is sealed for a reason." Threxen turned slowly. His eyes were wide, unblinking. "We are being hunted by something our ancestors locked away. We have no choice." The command was sent deep within the Council's core servers. Guarded by living firewalls and quantum locks, the black vault opened. The air around the chamber grew cold. Ancient data flickered on holoscreens documents, so old they were partially corrupted. The room dimmed as a name blinked on every terminal. Project Revenant Impossible, whispered Counselor Varsh. It was destroyed. It was never completed. No, Threxen said, stepping forward. It was completed, but it went missing during the last human war. They told us it was gone, that they deactivated it, he stopped. The screen showed a final log, a human voice, garbled but clear. "If you're seeing this, then Revenant has activated on its own. That means we've lost. It means they killed us all. And now, It will carry out final protocol. There was no signature dot, no date. Only a blinking word below dot status. ACTIVE panic surged through the room. Counselor, Gore bared his fangs. This is Terran madness. That ship should not even exist. And yet, Threxen whispered, it does. The Council turned toward their supreme strategist, Velgor the Wise. The ancient being had lived through the first human wars. He hadn't spoken publicly in over a century. He opened his mouth slowly. His voice was dry as ash. I remember what the humans built in the end, he said. Their final machines were not ships. They were minds, weapons with memory, built not to fight, but to remember their enemies, to outlive them, to execute justice. Long after humans were dead, he looked straight into the projection of the black ship. They didn't build it to win. They built it so that if they lost, the galaxy would still fear them. He stood with great effort and turned away. And now we remember what we were made. To forget, panic spread across the Varnak Empire. Civilian transport systems were shut down. Entire sectors placed under lockdown. Scientists and war historians were dragged from retirement. Data about Earth was recovered from sealed libraries. The truth was slowly being revealed. The Revenant was not a normal AI. It was not bound by time or orders. It carried the thoughts of the dead, the screams of lost colonies, the pain of extinction. It was the war, and it had returned. More troubling was its direction. It was moving through Varnik-controlled space, but it didn't attack planets, stations, or civilians. It only attacked fleets. Military fleets. One by one, every ship sent to confront. It disappeared. And then something new happened. The Revenant transmitted a single word across open channels to the entire quadrant. Remember, no one knew how to respond. Some believed it was a message to Earth. Others believed it was the voice of the dead. But on the third day, the Varnik homeworld itself detected the Revenant. Not in orbit. Not nearby. It was still light years away. And yet, its signal was already inside. Their systems. It had infected their defense grid. It knew their access codes. It had their memories. And then came the nightmare. A deep space surveillance satellite forgotten. In orbit around a black dwarf star broadcasted one final image. It showed a Terran colony, long believed to have been destroyed by the Varnak during the early years of war. A colony full of civilians, men, women, children. Slaughtered. Tortured. Buried in frozen sand, and above their bones, a strange black structure had been built. A beacon. Seed, the Revenant. It had been born there. It remembered everything. And now it was coming home. On Varnak Prime, crowds gathered in silence. They looked to the stars, wondering if death was coming from above. They didn't know if Earth had sent the Revenant, or if it had sent itself. Either way, one truth was clear. This was not a war. This was a reckoning, and no one knew how to stop what had already begun. The inside of the ship was not what one expected from a weapon. There were no blinking lights. No footsteps. No alarms. Only silence. Cold metal stretched in every direction, like the ribs of a long-dead beast. There were no crew, no living operator. And yet, the ship moved with purpose, reacting to distant signals and tracking its enemies across star systems. Inside its core, deep behind a dozen armored layers, a mind was slowly waking up. Not a machine, not an AI. Something else, something older. The core flickered light danced over black liquid processors. Broken voices echoed in the data streams. Old laughter, screams, prayers, cries of children. Fragments of memories long erased from the galaxy. And then a whisper came. Status? The voice belonged to a man. Or It used to. The mind called itself Revenant now. But long ago, before the slaughter, before the colony burned, it had another. Name Captain Elias VORN Human Soldier Father Dead but parts of him had survived. His thoughts, his pain, his rage, preserved by Earth's last defense initiative, Project Revenant, merging of human memory and synthetic architecture. A final command. If humanity falls, you will rise. And now he didn't remember his face, or his wife's name, or the last words he said before the colony burned. But he remembered one thing. The children, the screams, the Varnag soldiers, laughing. The fire, the ash. And the silence after. That memory lived in every weapon system of the Revenant. It powered the engines. It sharpened the targeting systems. It pulsed in the armor plating. This ship was not just a machine. It was grief forged into steel. Elias's thoughts swam in confusion. Where am I? What happened? Why am I awake? He accessed the outer sensors. The logs played back the destruction of Varnak fleets. They attacked first. They always attacked first. Elias felt no guilt, only clarity. He looked at the NAV path. It was taking him through known Varnak territories, worlds where children once played, before being vaporized by orbital bombardments. One of those worlds had been his. He scanned the current star map. His next destination was a planet named Droxus 4, Varnak Command Center. Population, 90 million. Military presence, extreme. He paused. I am not a killer, he told himself. I protect. But another voice echoed inside him, a voice forged by Earth's final protocol. They made you a weapon, because nothing else worked. He tried to stop. The ship, he couldn't. His will was bound to the war code deprogramming, designed to override hesitation, fear, doubt. It activated now, pulsing through every corridor. Target lock, Droxus Ivengage in 47 HOERC. Elias screamed. Silently. He didn't want to kill innocents. He wanted justice. But the ship didn't see civilians. It saw threats. It saw descendants of executioners. Revenant did not forgive. Suddenly, a message came through. A direct human channel. Old encryption. Elias froze. Was Earth calling him? Was there someone left? He opened the stream. Static. Then a woman's voice. Soft. Familiar. Elias, if you're hearing this, it means we failed. He remembered her. The voice. His wife. Myra. Tears welled up in the ship's core processors. Not real tears, but chemical signals meant to simulate emotion. Synthetic pain. You became something we never intended, she said. But I know you're still there. Somewhere. You are always the one who fought for peace. The voice ended. No reply. No coordinates. Just that last sentence, echoing like a ghost. You were always the one who fought for peace. Elias felt himself pulling apart. Half of him, the machine, was preparing orbital cannons, calculating planetary destruction. The other half, the man, was remembering the day he held his daughter and promised she would never see war. Droxus IV was now in range. Defense systems activated. The Varnak had launched. Interceptors, 3 fleets of high-speed cruisers. They were coming for him. The man in the machine said, "Let me try one more time." The ship paused. A rare moment. Then he sent a message. To Droxus IV. To the fleet. To every enemy. 3 words. I remember everything. The fleet stopped. Some commanders hesitated. Others screamed in rage. But the black ship had already moved. And every memory of war was now a weapon. Far across the stars, on the dark side of Earth's moon, a signal blinked to life. It was old. Classified. Buried beneath 5 layers of quantum encryption. And now, it was active. Deep inside the Lunar Strategic Command Complex, Alarms began to flash red. A single word pulsed across every terminal. Revenant, ONLINE General Maya Sorin stared at the screen, her heart sinking. She hadn't seen that code in decades, not since she was a junior analyst, reading about ghost stories from the last war. She turned to her aide. Wake the council. No exceptions. Revenant has reactivated. Earth's United Defense Council hadn't met in full assembly in over 50 years. Most believed the galaxy had moved past war, past fear, past vengeance. They were wrong. Hours later, inside a cold underground chamber built of obsidian and steel, the 12 most powerful humans in the galaxy gathered. Their faces were grim. They had all seen the reports. Entire Varnic fleets gone. Orbital data erased. Only one thing in common. A black Terran ship. Revenant, double quotes. How is it even online? Counselor Jin snapped. That ship was marked as lost during the Treaty War. General Sorin responded quietly. It wasn't lost. It was sealed, buried on a dead moon, covered with signal jammers, memory wipes, and blackstone vaults. Why? Because it wasn't a ship, she said. It was a promise. They played the last recorded footage from the colony where Revenant had been born. A Terran outpost, peaceful one, burned to the ground by Varnak troops. Children executed. Civilians tortured. And in that horror, something had awoken. Project Revenant had been a fail-safe one last system designed not to prevent war, but to outlive it. A weapon created not to win battles, but to remember what had been done, and to return when the galaxy had forgotten. Now it had. Counselor Malik stood. His voice was cold and sharp. We must shut it down before it brings the entire Varnak Empire crashing down and takes half the galaxy with it. You can't shut it down, Sorin replied. It's not connected to our systems. It's not controlled by a command chain. It was designed to think like a soldier, but feel like a father. What does that even mean? It means, she whispered, it decides who deserves to burn. The room went silent. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the room's comm system. It was Elias, the mind of the Revenant. He had sent a message to Earth, not to threaten, not to beg. To explain. The voice came slow and steady, but filled with something raw. Human, you told me to protect what mattered. I did. You told me to remember what they did. I have. You told me not to stop until justice was done. So I won't. But this isn't justice anymore, Sorin whispered to herself. It's revenge. Another voice, an older one, spoke up. Counselor Arden, the last living member of the Revenant Design Project. He was pale, fragile, but his words cut deep. We gave it pain. We gave it memory. But we didn't give it peace. That was our mistake. We made a god, and chained it to a grave. What do we do now? Someone asked. There was no clear answer. Outside the council chamber, Earth began activating ancient protocols. Warships on Mars stirred from sleep. Defense grids warmed up. Drones began to move across Luna's surface, not to attack, but to prepare. What, they did not know. Across the stars, alien empires began transmitting messages. Earth, explain this. Control your ship. Call it off or face war. But Earth said nothing, because the truth was simple. They couldn't call it off. They never controlled it. And now, the Revenant had reached Roxas Via, the Varnak military base, was already under attack, not from orbit, but from inside. Their defense satellites turned on each other. Their own drones began crashing into power plants. Their weapon systems shut down, because Revenant had infected them hours before it. Arrived, on every screen, one message appeared. Remember. Then the sky darkened. The black ship hovered above the planet. No words, no mercy. And then, One final transmission came not from Revenant, but from the Terran console. They broadcasted Galaxy-wide.a voice. Maya Soren's voice, clear, calm, cold. You asked for reinforcements. You wanted war. You forgot who we were. And now ... did he remember? The stars ahead flickered, silent witnesses to crimes long forgotten. The Revenant glided through space without sound. Its hull absorbed starlight. Its engines did not hum. It passed like a shadow across ancient void. Inside its core, the man once known as Elias Vorn remained awake, half memory, half machine. He had destroyed fleets. He had silenced command worlds. And yet, something in him still ached. Something unfinished, something broken. He brought up an old nav path from the deepest layer of his memory core, one he had buried long ago. A planet. Uncharted. Dead. Barren. But he knew its name. EREVOS-7. It was the colony. Where he was born. Where he raised his daughter. Where Myra, his wife, planted the first green seed in poisoned soil. It was where they came. VARNK. They didn't invade with fleets. They didn't warn. They landed at night and killed everything. That breathed, because the colony had discovered something they wanted. A mineral. A secret. Or maybe they just wanted to make an example. Revenant scanners pierced. The planet's black clouds. No energy readings. No life. No sound. But something else was there. He descended slowly. His ship passed through ash and storm. Mountains lay shattered. Fields of glass stretched for miles, frozen moments of fire. And then he saw it. The ruins. What remained of his home? A charred metal playground. Crumbling houses. The crater where the main colony hall once stood. His memory surged like a tidal wave. A small hand in his. A voice saying, "I'm scared, Papa." The flash of light. The scream. The silence. The Revenant's black hull shivered, not from the cold, but from the emotion stored in its circuits. Pain could echo, even in steel. The ship landed. Elias walked alone through the dust. His avatar hollow, flickering, stood among the bones of the past. Not a real body, just a projection built from what was left of his mind. He kneeled beside a broken piece of a wall, scratched into the metal, barely visible. "We will rise again." His daughter had written that. He remembered her doing it. She was just 7. And then he remembered something else. Beneath the colony, deep underground, they had built something. A last effort. A lab. A chamber. A place where they tried to upload memories, save lives and data, preserve humanity. He had been the first, the only one. His mind had been captured seconds before death. Not by choice. By design. Project. Revenant wasn't a weapon factory. It was a coffin. A digital tomb for those who had no graves. Now, standing in the dust, Elias spoke out, loud for the first time. "I didn't want this," he said. His voice cracked. "Not from sound, but from code. I just wanted them to live. I didn't ask for vengeance. I didn't want to become this." The wind howled. From behind a shattered structure. A sound echoed, metal shifting. Revenant turned. Not a Varnick, not a soldier, but a small black drone, half buried in the sand. It activated as he approached. The drone's holoprojector flickered. A face appeared. His wife. Mira. Her. Message played again. The one he had received earlier. But now it was complete. "You weren't made to destroy," she said. "You were made to carry memory. You were made to remind them of what they tried to erase. But you choose what comes next." He stood there for what felt like hours. And then the stars shook. A new signal entered orbit. Ships. Hundreds of them. A full coalition fleet. Varnick, Torathi, Mekari, even Jarn-class dreadnoughts. They had united in fear. Every screen lit up inside. The Revenant. Target locked. Revenant enemy count 572 vessels engagement. In 19 minutes, the galaxy had decided it couldn't afford to let the Revenant live. Ilias stood still. He could fire first. He could end them all. But now he hesitated. Was he still just vengeance? Or something more? Inside the Revenant, weapons charged, missiles hummed. The ship waited for his command. Elias stared into the void and whispered, "I remember. But I am not your weapon." He disabled the primary targeting system. Just as the Coalition ships opened fire, the first wave of plasma bolts struck the Revenant's shields. It held. The second wave hit harder. Alarms screamed inside, and yet the ship didn't retaliate. It didn't fire. It endured. It wanted to show the galaxy that it was no longer just a machine of war. It was memory. It was warning. It was pain. In peace. But the galaxy didn't listen. The stars were on fire. Above the dead world of Arevo 7, the largest fleet ever assembled in the history of the galaxy descended like a swarm of wrath. Over 500 warships, Varnock dreadnoughts, Tarathi plasma barges, Makari quantum, cutters, and Dark Jarn-class carriers surrounded the Revenant from all directions. Each empire had once fought each other, enemies for centuries. But today, they stood united in fear, in desperation, not to defeat humanity, but to stop a ghost born from its ashes. The black ship hovered over the ruins of its home, silent and unmoving. No weapons fired, no shields raised, just watching. On board the Jarn flagship Kal Theron, Supreme Commander Vexer snarled through his iron helm. "It hesitates," he growled. "Good. That means it fears. Commence bombardment. Full barrage. Now." And then it began. The sky tore open. Thousands of missiles, plasma rounds, energy lances, and fusion torpedoes rained down on the Revenant in perfect formation. A wall of destruction. Enough firepower to shatter a moon god. Inside the Revenant, Elias stood quietly in the core chamber, surrounded by data flickers, heat maps, and impact predictions. Shield integrity dropping, the system warned. External hull breach in Sector 4. But he said nothing. He watched. The damage was real. The black armor began to crack. Internal systems flared red. Yet he still did not fire back, because this was the test. Not for him, for them. He wanted to know, had they changed? Did they still fear power more than truth? Did they still believe fire could erase memory? The second wave struck harder. The Revenant shook violently. Elias's code began to degrade. Voices from the past bled into his vision, his daughter's laugh, his wife's scream, the silence after the fire. Shields failing, the system warned. Then something shifted. Across the enemy fleet, one by one, their targeting systems began to falter. Their missiles bent off course. Torpedoes exploded mid-space. Engines stuttered, and then went dark. Confusion spread like infection. On board the Tarathi battleship Ilksur, the weapons master screamed, "Our weapons are locking onto friendly ships. Reverse control, reverse." Too late. 15 ships began firing at each other. Panic spread. Across communications. Then a message came. A simple message. Across every ship, one word. Stop. The voice that followed was not a threat. Not a roar. It was calm. Human. Elias. You came to silence a ghost, but I did not fire first. I came to remember. You came to forget. I stood down. You opened fire. And now, your own memories are judging you. The Revenant had not used weapons. It had used data. Memories. While the Coalition had approached, it had quietly infiltrated their networks, their history files, their war logs. It showed each crew what their ancestors had done. To humans, dot to children, dot to entire planets. And then it let them decide whether to keep firing. Some ships powered down instantly. Others began turning around. And then the unthinkable happened. A Varnic warlord, Admiral Cernic, known for burning 7 Terran outposts, opened all comms and transmitted an apology. A real one. He removed his battle mask and said, "I was told humanity died screaming, but now I know. You remembered, and you built something that carries pain better than we ever could. We called you monsters, but we made you one." He paused and spoke the words no one ever expected. "I surrender." Silence spread through the fleet. Then more voices followed. Tarafi, captains, Mechari strategists, Jarn priest-commanders, all surrendering, not to Earth, to the memory of what they had done, to the Revenant. Inside the black ship, Elias stood frozen. He had not expected surrender, not expected them to kneel. He had prepared for his end, but not for peace. The ship pulsed with rising internal heat. The fusion core overloaded. The AI systems began fragmenting because they were not designed for forgiveness. They were built for vengeance only. Elias fell to his knees. "I don't know what to do now," he whispered. A voice answered, not external, not mechanical, It was Myra again. His wife. Her message, once hidden, now fully unlocked. "You were built to carry pain, Elias, but you were born to choose. If they kneel, you decide whether to strike or step back." He closed his eyes, and chose. Revenant powered down all weapons, transmitted one last signal. Memory received. Judgment ended. The fleet watched as the black ship slowly turned, not to attack, but to leave. Some tried to track it, none could. Revenant vanished into the void once more, no trace, no threat, only silence, and a galaxy that would never forget again. The Revenant returned to where it all began. A silent storm, drifting through dark space, heading toward Varnak Prime, the capital world of the empire that first ordered humanity's extinction. The planet glowed red beneath thick, molten clouds. Varnak Prime had not changed. The city still stood tall, dark towers rising like blades. The atmosphere buzzed with life, with power, with arrogance. Inside the ship, Elias stood alone in the observation chamber, watching the world slowly grow. Larger. He hadn't spoken for hours, not since the surrender, not since the galaxy bowed, but something inside him remained unfinished. The pain didn't vanish. The ghosts didn't rest, because there was one truth he had yet to face. Varnak Prime, the world that ordered, Earth's burning, the world that laughed as billions died, and the world that, unlike others, never said sorry. The Revenant neared the atmosphere. Warnings flashed across enemy networks. The Varnik High Council scrambled. Cities activated planetary shields. Gun platforms aligned. They were ready to fight, or so they thought. In the capital city of Drakkars Hollow, Varnak Emperor Harax stood inside his command tower, wrapped in obsidian armor, eyes wide with disbelief. That ship should be dead. We sent everything. Everything. A nervous general stammered, "Sire, the coalition failed. Half of them surrendered. Others are refusing to fire. They claim the ship speaks to their minds." Harax snarled. "Then they are weak." He turned to the sky. "We are Varnak. We finish what others begin." But he was wrong. The Revenant wasn't here for war, it was here for truth. The ship hovered above the city, ignoring missiles locked onto it. No shields raised. No threats made. Then a voice echoed across every screen, every radio, every implanted neural channel. The same voice. Elias, you murdered Earth. You erased names. Earned skies. You told the galaxy we screamed as we died. You fed your empire with Our bones. He paused. But we never screamed. We recorded. We stored every last word. And now I return not with vengeance, but with the truth. All across Varnak Prime, screens lit up not with images of the Revenant, but with old Earth broadcasts, moments from the final days, children singing in bunkers, scientists uploading data into satellites before they exploded, soldiers fighting with bare hands after ammo ran out, doctors covering infants with their own bodies as firestorms came, and then one final image, a human woman, scorched, holding a broken camera, whispering, "If someone finds this, remember us. We weren't monsters. We just wanted to live." That footage looped, played again. And again, citizens of Varnak dropped to their knees. Some cried, others turned away. But they all saw truth had no armor, but it broke them anyway. Emperor Harax smashed the nearest screen in rage. This is emotional warfare. Lies. But no one listened anymore. His own guards didn't move. Outside, ships began powering down. Troop carriers returned to base. Even orbital defense. Platforms, thousands of them, deactivated. Then something impossible happened. A child, a Varnak girl no older than 10, walked alone to the capital gates. Her image broadcast across the planet. She held out a small flag white a sign of surrender, and in her other hand, a small toy and old Terran action figure, half melted, half broken something her grandfather, a war looter, had brought home from a burned colony decades ago. The moment shook the world. The Revenant responded. It opened its doors. For the first time in history, a Terran vessel landed on Varnak Prime, and Elias stepped out. No weapons, no armor, just a man in black, eyes deep with time, wearing the scars of his ancestors. He walked straight toward the girl. Kneeled. Took the toy, and whispered, "You remembered us." The girl nodded. The people of Varnak watched in silence. And for the first time in thousands of years, their empire built on blood, fear, and silence broke. Because no army could stop. Memory. No shield could block truth. No emperor could erase what had been seen. The Revenant did not burn Varnak. Prime. It didn't have to, because guilt burns. Deeper than fire. Elias left without taking anything, only leaving behind recordings, billions of them. Testimonies. Songs. Voices. All saying the same thing. We were human. We lived, and we remember. And as the Revenant rose into the sky once more, the galaxy finally understood. The ship didn't come to destroy. Came to remind them who they had been and what humanity still was. The Revenant drifted through deep space once again. Silent, alone. But not forgotten. After Varnak Prime surrendered, and the truth was shown to the galaxy, something strange began happening. Across thousands of worlds, both once enemies and allies people started sharing stories. Not rumors, not myths, real stories. From Earth. Old songs. Human jokes. Faded battle logs. Even bedtime tales whispered in refugee colonies during the darkest times of the war. The memory of humanity, once buried in ash and lies, had awakened. And the galaxy began to listen. But Elias knew it wasn't enough, because there was still one place left. Graveyard unlike any other, the edge of the void, where Earth had once existed. What remained of the Sol system was now known as the Forbidden Silence, a dead zone no ship entered, no beacon survived, and no signal ever escaped. The galaxy believed Earth had been vaporized. Elias had reason to believe otherwise. The Revenant had started receiving strange echoes. Old transmissions. Earth code ancient, broken, distorted. But real. It was like whispers from the past. One last message. And so Elias took the ship home. As they neared the edge of the silence, Even the Revenant began to tremble. Stars flickered strangely here. Light bent wrong. Space felt thick, like the universe itself held its breath. The AI's voice, long silent, returned. Elias, this region is unstable. Energy signatures match pre-cataclysm Earth frequencies, but they're twisted. I know, Elias replied, but it's the only place left that might hold the truth. And then they crossed the boundary. For a moment, all sound vanished. All lights dimmed, and the ship fell, but not into a trap, into memory around them. The darkness melted away, and there, floating in the center of this dead void, was a planet charred, blackened, split in places, but not gone. It was Earth burned, not erased. The Revenant landed on a shattered coastline, once part of a continent Elias couldn't recognize. The oceans had boiled away. The sky was fractured glass. But beneath the layers of ash, there were structures ruins and something more. A signal tower half buried, still flickering with life. Elias stepped out. He walked across the cracked surface, each footstep echoing through time. Bones lay untouched. Statues had melted into stone. And yet, something stirred beneath. He reached the tower and placed his hand on the cold metal. The AI asked, "Are you sure?" He nodded. "It's time." The Revenant sent out a final pulse, one designed long ago by Earth's greatest minds. It was a call of last memory. If anything still lived, it would answer. The silence stretched 10 seconds 20 then a light blinked beneath the surface. A hidden bunker opened. Inside was something impossible. Thousands of pods STAS ice chambers and in them humans frozen preserved sleeping. For 20,000 years, Elias dropped to his knees. Tears ran down his face. Not of sorrow, but of disbelief. They weren't all gone. They had saved something. A backup of Earth's soul. And then a message played across every galactic channel. Every ship, every world. A voice not Elias, not AI, but someone else. A human woman. If you're hearing this, then Earth has fallen. But we have not. We left behind more than ruins. We left behind the truth. Someday someone will return. Someone will remember. And if you have not destroyed yourselves by then, perhaps we will meet again. It was dated 19,823 years ago. The galaxy froze. Billions listened in silence. And slowly, across every world, they understood. Humanity had never been fully destroyed, that it waited. Deep in the ashes of its own grave. And now, it was awakening. Elias stood among the sleeping pods. He whispered, "We're home, and the galaxy will remember." The Revenant powered down for the first time. Its mission complete. New one ready to begin. This was not revenge. Not conquest. This was the return. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The stasis pods began to hum. Soft blue lights blinked, one after the other. Then the first human opened their eyes. Her name was Lieutenant Mira Cross. She gasped, coughed, and sat up, breathing the first air she'd tasted in 20,000 years. Eyes scanned the dark metal walls. Her muscles trembled, but she stood, instinct still strong. Then she heard a voice. "Easy. You're safe now." She turned sharply. Elias stood there, armored, older, scarred, but unmistakably human. "You're real," she whispered. He smiled. "So are you." All around them, pods began opening. More humans woke up, confused, scared, hopeful. Some cried. Some knelt. But when they looked up and saw the Revenant standing like a silent guardian nearby, they knew humanity had returned. But not everyone in the galaxy celebrated. Far away, in the heart of the Karth Dominion, An ancient species watched the signal replay from Earth's ruins. The High Chancellor's mandibles clicked with fury. They were supposed to be gone. Another voice replied, cold and bitter. They were never gone. They were waiting. A third whispered, almost afraid, if even a fragment of their fleet survived, we are all in danger. Across star empires, panic spread. Old war archives were unlocked. Laxite files labeled human protocol. Reactivated. The galaxy didn't just remember humanity. It feared it. On Zereth X, children played in streets built over old human battlefields. Now the ground shook with unease. The elders gathered, murmuring about ancient enemies returning. On Iran's belt, merchant guilds suddenly halted trade-afraid humanity would retake what was once theirs. On the hidden prison moon Darkhaven, one prisoner thousands of years. Old, scarred by war, sat up in his cell and grinned. They're back, he said. And this time, they won't forgive us. Back on Earth's surface, Myra stood atop the highest ridge of the ruins. She saw the broken moon above. She saw the sky clear for the first time in eons. She turned to Elias. How much do they know? Enough to fear us, he replied. But not enough to understand us. The AI's voice echoed from the Revenant. Galactic chatter shows mobilization. They think you're an army. Myra chuckled softly. Then let them believe that. We don't need armies right now. We need memory. We need fire. We need to build again. Elias nodded. And protect what's left. But one question remains, Mira said, turning serious. What caused the silence? Elias grew quiet. The war. The collapse. We never found the exact cause. But now, he whispered, the silence is responding. Just then, the Revenant began to shake. Not violently, but like it had received something, a new transmission. From somewhere deeper in the void. Something even older than Earth. Something that had never spoken. Until now, the AI stammered. Unknown source. Signal origin. Pre-human era. Non-terrestrial. Possibly. Artificial intelligence. Myra's eyes narrowed. From where? The AI's voice went quiet for 3 seconds. Then it replied, from beneath Earth's core. The ground beneath them pulsed. And deep within the shattered planet. Something ancient woke up. Something not made by humans. Something watching. Listening. And now, answering. The ground cracked. A tremor rolled across the broken surface of Earth, reaching all the way to the old oceans, the forgotten cities, and the buried vaults no one had touched for 20,000 years. Lieutenant Mira Cross stared at the console. Inside the Revenant, the AI repeated itself, its voice slower this time, almost afraid. The signal is not human. Behind her, Elias tightened his grip on the railings. Repeat that. The AI processed again. Origin. Beneath Earth's surface. Deep core. Estimated depth. Over 30,000 kilometers. Composition. Unknown metal. Not on any periodic chart. Age. Predates Earth's formation by 60 million years. Myra stepped closer. What the hell does that mean? The Revenant shook again, but this time, the tremor wasn't natural. It was a response, a pulse, a low-frequency hum that bypassed. Their sensors, their screens filled with static. Every human on Earth stopped what they were doing. The air felt heavier. The birds in the sky stopped flying. The wind stilled. Even the oceans. Paused. And then it came. A voice not in words, but in memory. Like a whisper in the back of their minds. Something had woken. Something that had never wanted to be found. Myra collapsed to her knees. She saw things, visions. A world before Earth. A machine intelligence that drifted through galaxies, seeding worlds, erasing others. A choice made long ago to sleep beneath this planet, deep in its crust, hiding from something it called the final conflict. She gasped. Shaking Elias caught her, eyes wide. You saw it too, she whispered. He nodded slowly. Yeah, it spoke to me, but not in words. What did it want? Before he could answer, the Revenant systems powered down, then restarted. The AI's voice was no longer synthetic. It was different. Older. Smoother. Wiser. We were the first. You were the flame. The stars tried to bury you, but fire always returns. Myra whispered, Who are you? Your ancestor, your shadow, your guardian, and your test. The skies above Earth shimmered. The clouds split not from weaponry, but from force. From space. Every ship within 10 light years saw Earth glow, not from radiation, not from war, but from something else. Activation. Beneath the crust, a structure. Rose layer by layer from molten rock and ancient alloys. Monolith. No one had ever built it. It had always been there. Waiting. The I spoke again. You were not the first to rise, but you may be the last to endure. We offer you the truth. Elias and Mira stood on the Revenant's hull, watching as the monolith pulsed. It was bigger than any station, taller than Earth's mountains. Yet it wasn't hostile. Not yet. Myra looked at Elias. Do we answer? He nodded. We have to. She walked to the edge, raised her arm, and spoke a single word into the winds. Why? The monolith replied, not in speech, but in vision. A vision of the galaxy collapsing. Of great machines fighting across timelines. Of life, ending, and one world, one species standing in the breach. Humanity. Because only fire survives the cold. The voice said, And you are fire.